you're going to need to run the sound. I've got too much to do.
Hey, Paul?
Yes.
Look, I'm not going to die in the sword. I know the work and effort, but I'm not going to embarrass the choir.
We have backups. I sent Caleb the sound file. He has it on his device.
Okay.
If we can't play it from mine, we'll play it from his.
Okay.
This system is not letting me on the network.
You know, hey, Paul, turn off your Wi-Fi.
All right, so
Turn off your Wi-Fi.
Turn
Do you
off
have Verizon?
Okay.
Turn off your There's an issue with the phone Wi-Fi. Turn off your Wi-Fi. I think
Yeah.
you're going to be okay.
Okay.
Now try that.
we're connected, airplane mode, and that.
I'm sorry.
Okay. They just, yeah, make sure it starts at the very beginning. Is it 0?
Would it be all right for let's say in the world?
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
And then
You don't need it.
in terms of
Well, what if I need to, what do you need to text me about something in the middle of service?
I don't know.
So where are you working during the service?
I'll be in the audio.
Okay, I'll pick it up on my way down.
Cool.
Yeah, let's do that. All right. Okay, we got it, Adam.
You turn off your Wi-Fi. Was that it?
Well, we're not going to use my phone. We're going to use Caleb's. He has the file on his phone.
Okay. Thanks, Taylor. One, two. Okay.
Unmute it, and then you're good. I'll be able to control your
Unmute. Okay.
One.
Adonai, Adonai, ahavti me'on beitecha, u'mekom mishkan kevotecha, ma'ani eshtachaveh mechra'ah, evrecha lifnei Adonai osi.
Good Yontif. We turn to page 141 in our prayer book, and for those watching you at home, I encourage you to read with us anytime there's an English reading, or if you're familiar with the music, please feel free to participate. Again, 141. I bless the night that nourished my heart to set the ghosts of longing free into the flow and figure of dream that went to harvest from dark, bread for the hunger no one sees. All that is eternal in me welcomes the wonder of this day, the field of brightness it creates, offering time for each thing to arise and illuminate. I place it on the altar of dawn, the quiet loyalty of breath, the tent of thought where I shelter waves of desire I'm sure to, and all beauty drawn to the eye. May my mind come alive today to the invisible geography that invites me to new frontiers, to break the dead shell of yesterdays, to risk being disturbed and changed. May I have the courage today to live the life that I would love, to postpone my dream no longer, but do at last what I came here for, and waste my heart on fear no more. We continue on page 150. Some mitzvot sustain us not only in this world, but also in the world to come. And they are honoring our parents, acting with kindness and loyalty, eagerly pursuing Jewish learning at all times, welcoming guests, visiting the sick, rejoicing with couples under the chuppah, caring for the dead and mourners, delving deeply into prayer, making peace among human beings, and the study of Torah. This is the cornerstone. 158.
page 160. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan sefi bina leavchin ben yom uvein laila. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, pokeach iverim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, matir asurim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, zokef kefufim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, rokar tzal hamayim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asa li kol tzorki. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamechin mitzadei gaver. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, malbish arumim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hanoten laya'ef koach. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamavir shena me'enai utnuma me'afapai. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asani b'tselem Elohim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asani ben chorin. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asani Yisrael. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, ozer Yisrael bigvura. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, oter Yisrael b'tifara.
We turn to page 167, Ashrei, David's song of praise. Adonai, my sovereign, I praise your name. Boundless is your glory, compassionate and full of grace, deeply patient, gentle, and just. Each generation sings of you, forever tells your story. Goodness and mercy extend to all, hands open wide to nourish life. I celebrate your faithful love. Joyful forever, we sing to you. 170.
Alleluia. יושב על כיסא רם ונישא, שוכן עד מרום וקדוש שמו. בכתוב רננו צדיקים באדוני, לישרים נאווה תהילה. בפי ישרים תתרומם, ובדברי צדיקים תתברך, ובלשון חסינים תתקדש, ובקרב קדושים תתהלל. ומקלות רבבות עמך בית ישראל, ברינה יפר שמך מלכנו בכל דור ודור. ישתבח שמך לעד מלכנו, האל המלך הגדול והקדוש בשמיים ובארץ. כי לך נאה אדוני אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו ואמותינו, שיר ושבחה, הלל וזמרה, עוז וממשלה נצח, גדולה וגבורה, תהילה ותפארת, קדושה ומלכות, ברכות והודאות, מעתה ועד עולם. ברוך אתה אדוני, אל מלך גדול בתשבחות, אל ההודאות, אדון הנפלאות, הבוחר בשירי זמרה, מלך אל חי העולמים. נחמתה,
those who are able, we rise together, 178. Please be seated, 182, Ahava Rabbah.
ברוך אתה אדוני הבוחר בעמו ישראל באהבה. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
The top of page 193. Emet vayetziv, true and endearing. All else is fluid and permanent, fleeting. Unsteady we falter, in chaos we cry, in quest for some certainty, an anchor for trust. Tzur chayinu, magain yish'enu, rock of our lives, our shield and protector. You are the constant abiding through me, the rock whose works speak of wholeness and justice. You, the still center, fixed point where we stand. From the ends of the earth, from the depths of despair, we call with the psalmist to our fortress and refuge. Lead me to the rock that is higher than I, our rock and salvation, our shelter and strength. Grounded in you, we shall never be shaken. The towers of cities will crumble with age, and iron corrodes and decays into rust. But the words and teachings that echo from Sinai are true and enduring. Forever they stand. Michomocha 196.
שיבחו גאולים לשמך על שפת הים, יחד כולם הודו והמליכו ואמרו. בעזרת ישראל ופדי חינומך יהודה בישראל גואלנו אדוני צבאות שמו קדוש ישראל ברוך אתה אדוני נעל ישראל.
The top of page 198. In the depths of night by the edge of the river, Jacob was left alone. In heartfelt longing in the temple of God, Hannah uttered her prayer alone. In the barren wilderness, in doubt and despair, Elijah found God alone. On the holiest day, in the Holy of Holies, the high priest entered alone. We are bound to know another in myriad ways, but each soul needs time to itself. In solitude, we meet the solitarity of one. Silence makes space for the still, small voice. For the psalmists say, deep calls unto deep. From the depths of our soul, we seek what is most profound. We rise together for Tefillah, page 200.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei avoteinu ve'imoteinu Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah. Ha'el ha'gadol ha'gibor ve'ha'nora El Elyon Gomel Chassadim Tovim Mekonei Hakol Mezocher Chasdei Avot V'imahot ומי גאולה לבני בניהם למען שמו באהבה. Hoshia U'Magen Baruch Atah Adonai Magen Avraham Bezrat Sarah Gibor leolam Adonai mechayei metim ata Rab lehoshia Merachamim Rabim Somech noflim berofei cholim umatir asurim umekayem emunatol yishenei afar michamocha ba'al geborot umidomelach Meimit Umechaye Umatzmiach Yeshua Michamocha El Harachamim Zocher Yetzurav Lechaim Berachamim V'neman ata lehachayot meitim Baruch atah Adonai mechayei hameitim
Please be seated. We turn to page 206. On Rosh Hashanah, this is written. On the fast of Yom Kippur, this is sealed. Who will live and who will die? Who will reach the ripeness of age? Who will be taken before their time? Who by fire and who by water? Who by earthquake and who by plague? Who will rest and who will wander? Who will be tranquil and who will be troubled? I sat in shul for years reading these words before I realized the answer. The answer to each of these questions is me. Who will live and who will die? I will. Who at their end and who not at their end? Me. Like every human being, when I die, it will be at the right time, and it will also be too soon. Fire, water, earthquake, plague. In my lifetime, I've been scorched and drowned, shaken and burdened, wandering and at rest, tranquil and troubled. This has been my life's journey. Of course, I prefer to deflect this truth. I would much prefer to let the prayers talk about someone else, perhaps the fellow in the next row. It has taken a lifetime to reveal that defense as a lie. The prayer is not about someone else. It's about me. It is a frightfully succinct summary of my existence. So now I read it again, but in the first person, and it makes me shiver. I will live and I will die at the right time and before my time. I will wander, but I might yet find rest. I will be troubled, but I may achieve tranquility. This is the central truth of the high holy days. This is what makes them Yamin Narim, days of terror. We are all vulnerable. 208. Let us proclaim the power of this day, the days whose holiness awakens deepest awe and inspires highest praise for your dominion. For your throne is a throne of love, your reign is a reign of truth. In truth you are judge and plaintiff, counselor and witness. You inscribe and seal, you record and recount. You remember all that we have forgotten, and when you open up the book of memories, it speaks for itself. Like every human hand leaves its mark, an imprint like no other.
kein tavir vetispon metimene metiv kot nefesh kol chai vetach toch yitzma lechol meria metichtov et gesan dina.
And so a great shofar will cry, Tekiah. A still, small voice will be heard. Angels in a world of fear and trembling will say, Behold the day of judgment, for they too are judged. In your eyes, even they are not blameless. All who come into the world pass before you, like sheep before their shepherd. As a shepherd considers the flock, when it passes beneath the staff, you count and consider every life. You set bounds, you decide destiny, you inscribe judgments.
ישקיט ומיטהוריו משלב ומתייסר
On Rosh Hashanah, this is written. On the fast of Yom Kippur, this is sealed. How many will pass away from this world? How many will be born into it? Who will live and who will die? Who will reach the ripeness of age? Who will be taken before their time? Who by fire and who by water? Who by war and who by beast? Who by famine and who by drought? Who by earthquake and who by plague? Who by strangling and who by stoning? Who will rest and who will wander? Who will be tranquil and who will be troubled? Who will be calm and who tormented? Who will live in poverty and who in prosperity? Who will be humbled and who exalted? But through return to the right path, through prayer and righteous giving, we can transcend the harshness of the decree. You are everything that we praise you for, slow to anger, quick to forgive. You do not wish the death of sinners, but urge them to return from their ways and live. Until the day of death, you wait for them. You accept them at once if they return. Since you created us, you know our impulses. We are but flesh and blood. We who are mortal, our origin is dust, and so is our end. We wear out our lives to get our bread, like broken vessels, like withered grass, like a flower that must fade, a shadow moving on, a cloud passing by, mere dust on the wind, a dream that flies away. But for you, ever-living sovereign, time has no limits. Your presence, unbounded by days and years, is everywhere. A glorious mystery none can decipher. Your name is worthy of you, and you are worthy of your name, and our name you have linked with yours. We rise together, 218.
נקדש את שמך בעולם כשם שמקדישים אותו בשמי מרום ככתוב על יד נביאך וקרא זה אל זה מאמר קדוש.
Please be seated. We turn to page 230. You chose us with love to be messengers of mitzvot, and through us you made known your aspirations. Among all the many peoples, you gave us a pathway to holiness. Among all the great nations, you uplifted us and made yourself our sovereign. And so we seek you and serve you and celebrate our nearness to your presence. Your great and sacred name has become our calling. On the bottom we continue, in your love eternal, our God, you have given us this Yom Kippur, a day on which our wrongs are forgiven, a day of sacred assembly, a day to be mindful of our people's going out from Egypt. We continue on page 235. It's not easy to forgive God. It takes huge effort. It is painful, contradictory, and maddening. The human suffering that surrounds us feel utterly unforgivable. But I will forgive God because I do not want to write off the relationship, because I feel there's too much to be lost by simply walking away, because I want my children to develop their own relationships and come to their own conclusions, because despite the pain, sorrow, and suffering, I want my universe full of miracles, not void of them, because I do not want to be one more angry old cynic in the world. I want to believe a voice still calls out from Sinai, from heaven. This is why I will forgive God. I want to engage in the eternal conversations with the ancestors and sages. Despite it all, I want to live my life in praise and awe, in wonder and hope, even if I'm wrong, even if at the end there's nothing but darkness. 238.
Adonai Eloheinu be'amecha Yisrael u'tefilatam be'ahava tekabel Tehil ratzon Tamid avodat Yisrael Yisrael Amecha El karov lechol kore'ah v'nei elavatecha mechoneinu shefocher ruchacha aleinu betechezena eineinu beshuvcha letzion berachamim Baruch atah Adonai המחזיר שכינתו לציון
244. And in the past 7 months, this part of the year which has been so difficult for us, allow these ancient words to give us the hope and strength that we especially need more than ever. Elohei v'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu Brachein Bracha Chamshu Leshet. Our God, divine presence, whose path our ancestors walked, bless us now with words first bestowed on Israel in the time of Moses and Aaron, the threefold blessing given us through Torah that joins our hopes with theirs. Yivracha Adonai v'Yishmerecha, Ken Yehi Ratzon, Ye'er Adonai Panav Alecha v'Yihunecha, Ken Yehi Ratzon, Yisa Adonai Panav Alecha v'Yisem Lecha Shalom, Ken Yehi Ratzon. May God bless you and always protect you. May it be so. May you receive the light of God's kindness and grace. May it be so. May God bestow favor upon you and forever give you peace. May it be so. Page 246.
Sim Shalom. Tova u'bracha ba'olam, chen v'chesed v'rachamim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael amecha.
Good Yontif. There's a city in the world I'm just so absolutely fascinated about. It's called Via Grande, and it's in the country of Sardinia, which is considered a blue zone. And that, I mean, it's a special region of the world where people live much longer than average. Via Grande, it's not known for its tourism. It's not known for that obelisk in the city square that celebrates some military victory or the picturesque European cobblestone streets that travel guidebooks would mention. Rather, it's known for its density of apartments and interwoven alleys. Because in this village, there are 10 times as many centenarians as there are in North America. Think about this. 10 times the amount of people that are over 100 years old in this tiny country as there are in North America. So of course we say, or ask, why? Because people are happy, and they especially love being with other people. Villagers are greeted not just by family and extended family, but by friends, neighbors, the barkeeper, the grocer. I don't think they have a rabbi, but I'm certain they have a priest on a daily basis. For this instance, just put aside COVID if we can. Because science teaches us that face-to-face contact, shaking hands, hugging, a high five or a fist bump is enough to release oxytocin, a powerful hormone that helps us increase our levels of trust and lowers our cortisol levels, meaning our stress. These Sardinians are frequently releasing oxytocin because the amount of connection that happens in their lives daily. It's like TikTok or Twitter for them. But instead of videos or tweets, it's real life with real, genuine relationships. As Dr. Susan Pinker, who conducted this incredible research, said, and that's when I discovered a low-fat, gluten-free diet. It's not what it takes to live to 100 in the blue zone. I've always loved reading about Via Grande. I loved hearing about a real place where people truly know and care about each other. A place where their definition of community is stopping by, saying hello, sharing a story, a good laugh, and of course, a bite to eat. Each home in this village is almost like a real-life episode of Friends, where Joey, Chandler, Ross, Rachel, Monica, and Phoebe meet up at Central Perk daily. Because God willing, the threat of not being safe from COVID will soon be over. Yet, I'm so worried as to how our community and country will reconnect. I'm worried that because of forced social restrictions on social gatherings will continue to lead to permanent isolation and loneliness. I'm so worried that being by ourselves will become the new norm. Because even before COVID, loneliness was still a silent killer. Medical experts believe that loneliness poses a greater threat to our health than obesity. And its short life effects are comparable to smoking an average of 15 cigarettes a day. Almost half of Americans struggle from loneliness, putting them at greater risk for developing heart disease, inflammatory disease, cancer, diabetes, and especially cognitive decline. Our children, including young adults, they are not immune to the effects of loneliness, where depression, anxiety, and other mental illnesses are at all-time highs. Suicide rates among youth increased by 57% between 2007 and 2018. It's certainly no coincidence that in 2007, Apple launched its first generation iPhone, which in effect led to the rise of apps, social media platforms, and phone addiction. And a growing number of psychological studies showed us that the use of social media can exacerbate loneliness and worsen mental health. Social media users are 3 times more likely to be depressed than occasional users. But even before the rise of smartphones in 2007, we've been on this collision course of loneliness for decades. We stopped relying on what really matters the most, our happiness. We stopped coming to things that made us happy and healthy, such as frequent synagogue attendance, volunteering, participating in bowling leagues or book clubs, and the long-forgotten family dinner, the kind where everybody had their spot at the table, because children who ate with their families 5 times per week were more likely to earn top grades at school. And Rhodes Scholars, what do they have in common? It's usually one thing. That is, they had family dinners regularly. Harvard University's Department of Adult Development decided to conduct a study on tracking the lives of 724 people. This study wanted to answer the following question: what makes a good life? What is happiness? The report indicated the following: good relationships keep us healthier and happy. But here's the key factor: in-person social connections are really good for us. It's good for our brains, while loneliness is toxic. People who are more personally connected to family, to friends, and to community are happier, physically healthier, and live longer than people who are less well connected. And it certainly makes sense why the villagers of Villa Grande are happy and live longer. As science and social change continue to prove the benefit of being with each other, so did Judaism immediately in our tradition. When God created the world, every aspect of creation, whether it was the light, the skies, the ocean, land, or the animals, the book of Genesis tells us that these creative acts were good. But when God created Adam and placed him alone and isolated, even in the beauty of the Garden of the Eden, the Torah tells us that this was not good. And our rabbis teach us that, for the first time, something is seen as not good: human loneliness in the absence of a friend. Therefore, God created an Ezer Kenegdo, Eve, his companion, to end the first instance of human isolation ever mentioned in our existence. I wish that I could say to all of you, the solution to loneliness is as simple as having family dinners. Try putting your phone down. That post can wait. And after all, we really don't need to see a picture of what you're about to eat. And actually talk to someone you know at the table, the person either right next to you or in front of you. I wish it was as simple as saying hello to the grocers, or to your neighbor, or to the mail carrier. I wish it was as simple as telling you to come to shul for services and volunteering here at Temple Emanu-El. But you know what? It really is that simple. Do what I just mentioned, and life will not be as lonely. During the Rosh Hashanah service, shofar service last week, we recited the prayer, Hayom Harat Olam. Today the world is reborn. To remind us that despite our limitations of the past year, there's a new year waiting for us, hoping that we can change inward. Given this teaching from this prayer, I want to suggest something difficult for many of us to do, but well worth the effort. I'm talking about the opportunity to try something new, especially when we think we're going to hate it. And my reference point is me. Last year, Rachel and I went to New York. And whenever we have the opportunity to visit the city, Rachel always buys tickets to see a Broadway show. And I want to say, the thought of going to a Broadway show is not something I look forward to. By that I mean, I never want to go to a Broadway show. Rachel was fully prepared for her adventure. She quickly learned all the songs to the show and immediately began singing as one foot entered into the Uber. And I prepared myself by practicing the art of rolling my eyes when she wasn't looking. But sometimes we're asked to do something we really don't want to do. I know this because it's in the fine print of my ketubah, my marriage contract. But within the first few numbers of Act 1, I had an epiphany. I was glad I was here. I paused and I whispered to Rachel, admitting that she picked a good show for us to see together. I began how to appreciate how this particular musical truly speaks to the severe challenges of loneliness. When we force ourselves to do something we think we won't like, it can force us to experience humanity on so many different levels, which is truly the essence of the high holy days and why we're here. I forced myself to do something I did not want to do, and I learned that loneliness is so detrimental to our lives that when we left the show, I immediately told Rachel that I felt I had a moral obligation to talk about this message for this Yontif. But we must acknowledge that loneliness is thrust upon us when we don't have a choice. It's unkind, and it's certainly unfair. But we also must admit that in the last few decades, we have acted on making a conscious choice to be alone. We have acted of our own volition. For various reasons, I know that many of us were hanging on by that thread. We barely have enough gas in the tank to get through the day. Our work, it's more demanding than ever. We're stretched between too many obligations. Our children, especially teenagers, they're deeply hurting inside. They aren't getting enough sleep. Teens are feeling intense pressure from high school, from standardized test scores, from extracurricular activities. We know from social groups, and of course the pressure to get into college. And in the end, we're giving it all that we got as parents, as students, and in our occupations. We're trying to meet every deadline, to meet every expectation, but it feels that it's never enough because we are getting pulled in every direction. And therefore we feel lost and we want to be found. We get to rejoice in the gift that Yom Kippur gives us to us all, the gift to begin a new year without the fear of failure and to aspire to be God's holy partner in the world. This is our year to do the simple things to help our loneliness. And this is the year when I give a Broadway show an open-minded chance. And this will be the year that you allow yourself to do the things that you don't want to do. Because when you put yourselves out there, it opens up endless opportunities for us to grow, to learn perspective, some appreciation, and not to be alone. When we do the simple and hard things, by enabling ourselves to put the phone down, ask about someone's day, do something you wouldn't normally do, our oxytocin will be released, making us happier, healthier, and living meaningful lives. We can't move to Via Grande. But I will say this to my Temple Emanu-El family. Those who feel alone and isolated, who feel that the world is against them, I want you to know that this place will be your Via Grande. This place will always find you. Good Yentif.
Have you ever felt like nobody was there? Guess we're gonna do this again. We apologize for the technical difficulties.
Trying something new.
That's right.
I think so. Have you ever felt like nobody was there? Have you ever felt forgotten in the middle of nowhere? Have you ever felt like you could disappear? Like you could fall and no one would hear?
So let that lonely feeling wash away. 'Cause maybe there's a reason to believe you'll be okay. 'Cause when you don't feel strong enough to stand, you can reach out your hand and know someone will come running, and I know they'll take you
Return to our mock sword to page 252, and we rise together. Avinu Malkeinu, almighty and merciful, hear our voice. Avinu Malkeinu, we have strayed and sinned before you. Avinu Malkeinu, have compassion on us and our families. Avinu Malkeinu, halt the onslaught of sickness, violence, and hunger. Avinu Malkeinu, halt the reign of those who cause pain and terror. Avinu Malkeinu, enter our names the book of lives well lived. Avinu Malkeinu, renew for us a year of goodness. Avinu Malkeinu, let our hands overflow with your blessings. Avinu Malkeinu, let our eyes behold the dawn of redemption. Avinu Malkeinu, we pray, do not turn away from you with nothing. Avinu Malkeinu, welcome our prayer with love, accept and embrace it. Avinu Malkeinu, act toward us as befits your name. Avinu Malkeinu, act for your sake, if not for ours. Avinu Malkeinu, for you alone are sovereign. Avinu Malkeinu, let the gates of heaven be open to our prayer. Avinu Malkeinu, hear our voice. Treat us with tender compassion. Avinu Malkeinu, almighty and merciful, answer us with grace, for our deeds are wanting. Save us through acts of justice and love.
Avinu Malkeinu, Shema Koleinu. Avinu Malkeinu, Chatanu lefanecha. Avinu Malkeinu, Chamol aleinu, Me'al aleinu, Metapeinu.
Remain standing for our Torah service, page 255.
Ein kamocha va'Elohim Adonai. Malechutecha malechut kol olamim umemshaltecha bechol tov vador. Adonai oz le'amo yitein, Adonai yevarech et amo b'shalom. Avarachamim eitiva birtzonecha et Sion. Tivnei chomot Yerushalayim. Tivnei chomot Yerushalayim. Ki b'cha levad batachnu, Melech el ram v'nisa ato.
pleasure to welcome our 15-time champion, Mr. Stephen Dorsky, who will read. He already read this morning for our family service, so he's already warmed up and ready to go for our Torah service. Thank you so much for your 15th year of doing this mitzvah for us.
יעמוד אלימלך בן יעקב לעלייה לתורה.
She got the right scroll.
To the right, right? It got moved. Where's the book? Yeah, this isn't the right area. It's not Kiddush yet. How many columns did you do? Tell Paula. Give me some filler. Hold on real quick.
Just here this morning.
No, do you move the mic for me real quick?
If I can help.
Yeah, get in there. It got moved. This is the right scroll. Do you start a clean paragraph?
It's Atem Mitzavim.
What is the clean break?
Yeah, it would be at a clean break. It's somewhere up in this level of the page. I don't notice any of it.
Those who want to follow Parshat Nitzavim, Deuteronomy chapter 29 on page 266.
Baruch Adonai Hambarach Leolam Vaed.
Im hayom kulchem lifnei Adonai Elohechem Roshechem Shiftechem Zignechem B'shodrechem Kol Ish Yisrael Tabchem Neshechem V'gercha Asher Bekerev Machanecha Mechotei Veitzecha Ad Shoev Meimecha Le'avrecha bivrit Adonai Elohecha uvalato Asher Adonai Elohecha korevim hayom Leman hakimotcha hayom lo le'am Vehu yihi elecha le'elohim ka'asher diber lach V'cha'asher nishba lavotecha L'Avraham L'Yitzchak U'Yaakov Ve'lo itchem levadchem Anochi koret et habrit hazot Ve'et ha'ala hazot Ki et asher yeshno po Imanu omeid hayom Lifnei Adonai Eloheinu Ve'et asher einenu ho imanu hayom. Ki hamitzvah hazot asher anochi mitzavcha hayom lo nifleiti mimcha v'lo rachacha hi Lo vashamayim hi le'mor mi yalelanu hashamayma v'yikachecha lanu v'yashmi'enu ota v'na'asena v'lo me'ever layam hi le'mor mi yavar lanu el ever hayam V'yikachecha lanu v'yashmi'enu ota v'na'asena ki karov elecha hadavar me'od beficha u'bilvavcha lasoto Re'eh natati lefanecha hayom et hachayim ve'et hatov ve'et hamavet ve'et hara Asher anochi mitzavcha hayom le'ahava et Adonai Elohecha lalechet bidrachav v'lishmor mitzvotav v'chuchotav u'mishpatav v'chayita v'ravita u'veracha Adonai Elohecha ba'aretz Asher vata vashama larishta ve'im yifne levavcha ve'lo tishma ve'nidachta ve'hishtachavita le'elohim acherim v'avatam higati lachem hayom ki avot tovedun lo tarichun yamim al harama Asher ata over et hayardein lavo shama larishta ha'idoti vachem hayom et hashamayim ve'et haaretz hachayim ve'hamavet natati lefanecha Habracha v'haklala ובחרת בחיים, למען תחיה אתה בזרעך. לאהבה את אדוני אלוהיך, לשמוע בקולו ולדבקה בו, כי הוא חייך ואורך ימיך, לשבת על האדמה, אשר נשבע אדוני לאבותיך, לאברהם, ליצחק וליעקב, לתת להם.
Yasher koach.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torat emet, v'chayei olam nata b'tokenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Yasher koach again.
As the Torah is within our presence, we take this moment to think of those who are in need of healing of body and spirit. On this Yontif, we especially think of Deborah Ivy, Nancy Russo, Jody Baum, Bruce Fleisig, Brian Cohn, Raymond Gottlieb, Bert Cotton, Isaac Petrowski, Bethany Pridmore, Lena Bludstein, Katie Bates, Kenny Siegel, Rucker Collier, Christine St. Charles and Don St. Charles, Kathy Klett-Mendel, Diane Larson, Vicky Luger, Robin Silverman Ayers, Ron Epstein, Linda Applebaum, Dr. Lynn Simons, Dr. Jason Bailey, and Francis Rossman. Our Misha Barak is on page 273.
Shem Berach Avoteinu, Avraham, Yitzchak veYaakov. Mi Shem Berach Imoteinu, Sarah, Rivka, Leah veRachel. May the one who blessed our mothers, may the one who blessed our fathers, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, and bless us as
We rise together as we lift the Torah.
to read our Haftarah portion.
Page 200, the blessings on 275.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar b'nviim tovim v'ratza b'divreihem hanemarim be'emet. Baruch atah Adonai habocher b'torah u'Moshe avdo u'v'Yisrael amo u'v'nvi'ei ha'emet v'tzedek. Cry from the depths, says God. Do not hold back. Lift up your voice like the shofar. Tell my people their transgression and the house of Jacob their sin. Yes, they seek me daily as though eager to learn my ways, as if they were a nation that does what is right and has not abandoned God's law. They ask of me the right way, eager for God's nearness. They say, why did we fast and you do not see it? We afflict ourselves and you do not know it. Because even on your fast day, you think only of desire while oppressing all those who work for you. Because your fasting is filled with strife and with calloused fists you strike. No, your fasting this day will not lift up your voice before heaven. Is this the fast I desire, a day to afflict body and soul? Bowing your head like a reed, covering yourself with sackcloth and ashes? Do you call this a fast, a day worthy of the favor of Adonai? Is not this the fast I desire, to break the bonds of injustice and remove the heavy yoke, to let the oppressed go free and release all those enslaved? Is it not to share your bread with the hungry and take the homeless poor into your home, and never to neglect your own flesh and blood? Then shall your light burst forth like the dawn, and your wounds shall quickly heal. Your righteous one leading the way before you, the presence of Adonai guarding you from behind. Then when you call, Adonai will answer, and when you cry, will respond, I am here. If you remove the chains of oppression, the menacing hand, the malicious word, if you offer your compassion to the hungry and satisfy the suffering, then shall your light shine through the darkness, and your night become bright as noon. Adonai will guide you always, slake your thirst in parched places, give strength to your bones. You shall be like a well-watered garden, an unfailing spring. From you they will rebuild ancient ruins, lay foundations for ages to come, and you shall be called the one who mends the breach and brings back the streets for dwelling. If you cease to trample Shabbat, stop pursuing your affairs on my holy day. If you call Shabbat a delight, the holy day of Adonai honored, and if you honor God by not doing business or speaking of everyday matters, then shall you take pure delight in Adonai. I will lift up your journey on earth to the highest of places and nourish you from the heritage of your father Jacob. For thus spoke Adonai. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, tzur kol haolamim, tzaddik b'kol hadorot, ha'el ha'ne'eman, האומר ועושה, המדבר ומקיים, שכל דבריו אמת וצדק, על התורה ועל העבודה, ועל הנביאים, ועל יום הכיפורים הזה, שנתת לנו, אדוני אלוהינו, למחילה ולסליחה ולכפרה, לכבוד ולתפארת. על הכל, אדוני אלוהינו, אנחנו מודים לך ומברכים אותך, יתברך שמך, בפי כל חי תמיד לעולם ועד, ודברך אמת וקיים לעד. ברוך אתה אדוני, מלך מוחל וסולח לאבותינו, ולבנות עמו בית ישראל, ומעביר אשמותינו בכל שנה ושנה, מלך על כל הארץ, מקדש ישראל ויום הכיפורים.
Amen. Yasher koach.
We turn to page 290 and we rise together as we return the Torah back to the ark.
Hallelujah.
Please be seated. 292. We stand in humility, conscious of our failings. Shema Kolenu Adonai, hear our call. True sacrifice to God is a penitent spirit. You treasure a crushed and repentant heart. For you are close to the brokenhearted, and you give strength to a suffering soul. You are the healer of shattered hearts. You are the one who binds up their wounds. For thus says the high and exalted one, who lives forever, whose name is holy. I dwell in a high and holy place, but also with the downcast and lowly, to bring new life to despondent souls, to restore and revive repentant hearts. Return now, Israel, to Adonai your God, for you have fallen because of your sin. Take words with you and return to God. Ask the Eternal, forgive what is wrong, accept what is good. We stand in humility, conscious of our failings. We set before you the wrongs we have done. We trust in your compassion, for you know who we are. Shema Kolenu, Adonai, hear our call. 294.
Ki
$2.95. Even rocks croak, I tell you, and not on account of age. For years they lie on their backs in the cold and the heat. So many years, it almost creates the impression of calm. They don't move so the cracks can hide, a kind of pride. Years pass over them as they wait. Whoever is going to shatter them hasn't come yet. And so the moss flourishes, the seaweed is cast about, the sea bursts out and slides back, and it seems the rocks are perfectly still, till a little seal comes to rub against them, comes and goes, and suddenly the stone has an opened wound. I told you, when rocks crack, it happens by surprise, not to mention people. 296. Middle of page 296, our God and God of all generations, may our prayers reach your presence, and when we turn to you, do not be indifferent. Adonai, we are arrogant and stubborn, claiming to be blameless and free of sin. In truth, we have stumbled and strayed. We have done wrong. We rise together. 299, for the sin we have committed against you through evading and avoiding because we cannot face the truth, for our flight into hypocrisy and deception because we do not dare to speak it, for the facts we dissembled and all we glossed over, for the excuses we made, for feeding our bodies and starving our souls, for interfering with the souls of others and neglecting their needs, for shifting our responsibilities, for reproaches and recriminations, for our foolishness, our folly and false standards, for seeing these things only in others, never in ourselves, for our complacency which blinds us and our self-righteousness which lessens us, for calculating kindness and measuring out pity, for charity that is cold and prayers without feeling, for withholding our love, for the appeals that we have ignored and the people whom we refuse, for the affection which died and our lives that became bitter, for the visions which faded, the ideals we neglected, and the opportunities we lost, for the fear of change and renewal and our unbelief, for saying prayers aloud but refusing to listen, for being our own worst enemy. And we conclude with Ki Anu Amecha, our service for this morning, 310. Good Yontif, have an easy fast.